church that's not always, well, this is the rule and this and that. No, it's family. It's feeling comfortable enough to walk in, take your shoes off, get comfortable, and get fed with family. And that's what we do, Nourish and Bond. Yes, we're inside now, and I'm super excited. You see, I got my Mr. Rogers cardigan on. Probably won't need it. I'll probably be taking it off before the end of the sermon. But yeah, we out here, man. I'm so glad to be back. Today, we're going to talk about something I think that's so important. People need to understand that success in life, there's two components. The first one is showing up, right? Showing up. 50% of success, all success, is just being there. Showing up. The second part of that component for success is work. You got to go to work. We call it awut. Awut means time to go to work. Historically, it was time to go to war, but we work for Christ. So we're not warring with anybody. The war's already been won through Christ. But when you take showing up, 50% of success, and you put it together with put in some work, you have success. That's how you get it. People say, well, you can have success by just working alone. Can you, though? All that work, but you don't show up to receive the reward, or the blessing in this case, is for nothing. It's for nothing. It's like a tree falling in the woods, man. No one's there to hear it. We don't even know it fell. There's people right now who claim that they could beat Michael Jordan on the court. I'm better than him. I see a hand went up right there. If I saw Jordan right now, I'd school him in his shoes. Now, they wearing his sneakers while they're saying this, by the way. And if they never play against him or never go out and play, we'll never know. They could have practiced their whole life. So they put in the work, but they didn't show up when it mattered. There are some things that happen in your life where you just have to show up, you guys. There's people who show up, but they don't do nothing. They didn't come prepared to work. They wouldn't know how to work. There are people that say that I can beat Michael Jordan, and Jordan goes, okay, let's play. And they ain't ready for that. They show up, and they're like, I'm here. But they never played basketball. Think about it. They never even dribbled a ball. They were just talking because he was Michael Jordan. Now they got to show up or shut up, and they can't. Showed up, but they didn't put in any work. You got to have them both for success. Now, before we get into this word, I want to talk about what I don't like. I'm going to get this out the way now so that we can end the sermon on a happy note. Right? I'm going to give you guys some stuff to do, some practicality. But right off the bat, this is what I don't like when I talk about showing up to work. Showing up and working. If you're posting on Facebook or social media or just talking to people about all the stuff you do, let's say you're 450 pounds. I'm just throw this out there because I don't know anybody 450, but I'm sure there's something on Facebook right now. You're 450 pounds and you're posting on Facebook how you go to the gym every day. You taking pictures of you and all your brand new gym out wearing your spandex. You got the Under Armour looking right? And you've got the headband and everything, the shirt. You're at the gym. You show a picture of the gym, and then the next post is you sweating on a treadmill. Now, I didn't see you run on that treadmill, but the sweat must have came from somewhere, so I have to take your word that you were sweating. But 6 months later, you're still 450 pounds. You're still making the same posts, but nothing has changed. That doesn't motivate me. I'm not motivated by the lack of results from what you showed me. That doesn't even motivate you, obviously, because you haven't lost any weight. For some reason, you forgot to show that right after the workout, there was no pictures on Facebook about how you went to Golden Corral immediately after. You powered down 1,500 calories. It didn't show that. It didn't show how the next day you went to the Lone Star buffet and you put that buffet to the test. And they kicked you out because you were scaring the children. It didn't show any of that. None of that was on Facebook. So I'm like, okay, you showed up, but did you really put in any work? Or you just working to make it look like you worked? Why are you never there when I'm there? How come I can't never go with you? I'm not motivated by that. This is not the sermon I'm here to preach. Again, to me, that's selfish. Because you're portraying somebody else, you're not portraying yourself, and that's not real work. Real work is when it's you, mostly it's just you and God. Because you're looking around like, where's all the other workers at? God's looking like, that's you. I sent you, Isaiah, right? You said, here I am, I sent you. And it's selfish it's a little thing, but it might be selfish for the spandex. Think about that, man. There is a stress test they put on those things, and you're stressing them out. Those little fibers in the spandex are holding on for dear life with the strength of 1,000 soldiers. Hold! Oh, he's been on the treadmill. No, they just throw their hands up. I can't do it. And now you ripped your spandex. Your Under Armour got ripped because you were being selfish. Think about the spandex. But that's neither here nor there. I'm talking about really showing up, prepared to do something. Doesn't always mean you'll have to do something. You can show up ready to work and not do anything, not lift a finger. But at least you were ready. You were prepared. You put in the work. And you showed up. A good friend of mine, his name is JJ. He drove limousines in California. He moved out here to Las Vegas, thought he was going to be driving limousines. He told his wife, I don't want to drive limos, I want to shine shoes. Just real story, JJ. His wife laughed at him. She was like, shoe shining don't make that much money. I know you used to shine shoes, but then we prayed for a better job, and you got it driving limos. So now you're going to drive limos. We are not shining any more shoes. We've moved on. We put in the work. He goes, I get it. He goes, but I love shining shoes. That's my thing. He goes to work driving for a limo company in Las Vegas, and one of his coworkers tells him, hey, you know what? Mr. Wynn is opening a casino, the Wynn Hotel. It's going to be open here pretty soon, and I'm sure that guy wears nice shoes, man. He's going to be living in the hotel. I heard he's going to be living at the hotel, so you might be able to go shine his shoes. JJ was like, I'm out. He doesn't quit his job, but he goes 8 o'clock the next, he said, what, 7:30? 7:30 the next morning, he shows up at the Wynn. It's open. Encore hadn't opened yet. And he goes and waits for Mr. Wynn to come out at the executive office of the Wynn. And the receptionist is asking him what he's there for. He's like, I'm here to shine shoes for Mr. Wynn. And she goes, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Wynn already has somebody to shine shoes. He goes, that is awesome. He goes, I bet that man or female, whoever, is great. He goes, but I would like one of Mr. Wynn's shoes. If you let me shine one of his shoes, he can match my work to that person's work, and then we'll see if he still has that person when I'm done. And she laughed, and she was like, okay, you can wait for him. He waited all day. Mr. Wynn never came out. He left. He went back again, and he was like, I waited here, and she saw him. She's like, oh, you're back again? He goes, I waited. No, Wynn never came out. She goes, let me get you an executive. An executive came down, and a man by the name of Maurice Wooden comes down and sees JJ, and he's like, so what are you doing? He goes, I'm waiting for Mr. Wynn. I want to shine shoes for Mr. Wynn. I don't care if you pay me or not. I just wanted to see that I'm really good at it. And he goes, okay, well, how about you shine my shoes? He goes, I don't know when Mr. Wynn's going to have time for you. Shine my shoes. He goes, okay, fine, I'm going to shine them. He shined them, did a great job for Mr. Wooden. Mr. Wooden comes back down with some other executives. Hey, this guy is shining shoes. Okay. Starts shining shoes for everybody. Still no Mr. Wynn. JJ goes on for months. And when I say months, he's still working driving limos. He never stopped. From 8 o'clock in the morning, this man would go in the executive office of the Wynn and shine shoes until 4 o'clock because he waited for Wynn. Wynn never came out. He'd leave at 4. And then have to go home and start his job driving limos from 10 to 2. 10 at night, 2 in the morning. Got a little bit of sleep, woke up and did it. His wife thought he was crazy. He has a death in the family. His son dies. How his son died, I have no idea. I didn't want him to share too much with me because I was getting my shoes shined when he was telling me the story. Son dies. He has to stop doing all of that for a while, right? He goes and he's mourning with his wife or whatever. He takes a month off. He goes back to the Wynn after a month or something. And he says somebody sees him, the receptionist or somebody. He goes, oh my goodness, it's JJ. She goes, where have you been? And he goes, oh, I had a loss in the family, so I couldn't come. He goes, but it doesn't matter. I wasn't going to see Mr. Wynn anyway. Like, I was here for months. Mr. Wynn never came. She goes, well, you don't understand. We missed you. Like, everybody was asking about you. Everybody. She goes, even Mr. Wynn, even though he never met you, he's been asking, come on in. He comes on in, and they're like, we need to work out a deal with you because you did a great job. We want to hire you full-time to shine shoes. He said, okay. They hired him. Now JJ shines shoes at the Wynn to this day. It's been years, 13 years, I think. He's been shining shoes at the Wynn, shine my shoes. And they pay him just to sit there because half the time people don't get their shoes shined by him. They pay him to sit there and have conversation and prepare to shine shoes. He has never shined Mr. Wynn's shoes, not even once. He met Mr. Wynn tons of times, but he's never shined his shoes because Wynn is loyal to his shoe shine guy. And now Wynn no longer is up there. He's moved on now. But JJ, he's telling me this story, and I'm blown away. I'm like, wow. I'm like, so what about driving limos? He goes, oh, no, I stopped immediately. He goes, they pay me so much money now, I don't need to drive limos anymore. I just shine shoes. And I'm like, how's your wife feel? He goes, so she hated it at first, but now she loves it. Because we just bought a new house. I said, JJ, I'm going to put that in my sermon. I go, do I have permission? He goes, oh, man, to God be the glory. I was like, amen. So JJ, I don't even know if he's that great of a shoe shiner, honestly. Because, I mean, my shoes looked okay. They were average. I was like, okay, he did all right. But he put in the work. He showed up. He shined all those people's shoes for free. He kept coming. He kept showing up. He didn't give up. He kept showing up to the point where shining shoes or not, they just got used to having him there. So when he wasn't there, something was missing. Something important. They were like, something's not right, you guys. The cosmos is off. Well, what about that one guy who sat in the lobby and shined shoes every day from 8 to 4? Well, I thought we were paying him. Oh, we weren't? Well, we should. And that's how JJ got his job. Right? Anybody who works at the Wynn, this is true, a real story. You can meet JJ. Hopefully Joe gets hired there pretty soon. You'll meet JJ. K was around here somewhere. He's already met JJ. But it's a beautiful story. But what's awesome is he showed up. That's the kind of showing up I'm talking about. Not showing up, taking pictures, and leaving. Leaving out all the important stuff because you really ain't putting in work. You just want people to think you are. It's really showing up, really putting in work, and receiving your blessing. God has blessings for you that you cannot receive, that you will not receive if you don't show up to receive them. Somebody else will receive your blessings. Yeah. Amen? Amen. So let's get in the word. I want to talk about some folks. Come on in. Come on in. I want to talk about something. For y'all that don't know, real quick, before I get this word, this is Cherise Carter. She works with me. She's one of my co-workers at the Win. And Cherise is very familiar with JJ. Tell them what JJ does at the Win, Cherise. What does JJ do? He shines JJ. She knows him very well. I'm not going to get back into the story, but I told him a little bit about JJ and his history. Because our sermon today is about showing up. I'm going to give you some characters in the Bible. We're going to go through a few characters in the Bible that showed up. And they weren't the ones you're used to hearing about. They're not the typical character that you find in the Bible. These weren't the 12 people that walked with Jesus. They weren't the almighty religious sector of Sadducees or Pharisees. These were the others, is what I like to call them. These were the others. Okay, so we're going to start with, let's get into Matthew. We're going to start with Matthew chapter 8, verses 5 through 13. This is about a Roman officer. Roman officer. I'm going to go through all of these. We're going to get through them. It says, when Jesus returned, a Roman officer came and pleaded with him. Jesus said, I will come and heal him. He's pleading with him about a servant of his. I will come and heal him. But the officer said, Lord, I am not worthy to have you come into my home. Just say the word from where you are, and my servant will be healed. See, he loved his servant. And no one could heal his servant. He heard about this man named Jesus that was out healing everybody. A Jewish man that was healing Gentiles, Greeks, Romans, everybody. So he said, you know what, I'm going to go show up for my servant. He says, just say the word from where you are, and my servant will be healed. When Jesus heard this, he was amazed. Turning to those who were following him, he said, I tell you the truth, I haven't seen faith like this in all of Israel. Jesus goes on to go ahead to heal the man's servant. This is awesome. Because that man could have prayed all day. I heard about Jesus. Maybe Jesus will hear my prayer and heal my servant. And his servant wouldn't have gotten healed. That blessing of healing would have never made it to his servant. Because that man hadn't done the work. He didn't show up. In order for that Roman to get Jesus to hear and be amazed by his reply, his request, he had to find Jesus. He had to show up and put in some work. He had to literally tap him and say, hey, I heard you're Jesus. I love my servant. Is there any way you can heal him? He went out of his way, probably out of his comfort zone. Because again, you have Romans, you have Gentiles, you have Greeks, and then you have all these Hebrews that don't associate with him at all. They're not supposed to. But he did it because he loved his servant enough that he showed up and he put in some work. Let's move on. We're going to go to Mark chapter 5. We'll do verses 25 and 34. When I'm done, because I go fast, if you want these verses, I will give them to you. Eventually, I'll probably get a dry erase board or something and put them on the board so you guys have them so you can go back and read these because they're great stories. I'm giving you snippets of really, really good stories. This one is about a woman who has an issue of blood. This is Mark chapter 5, verses 25 to 34. It says, a woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with consistent bleeding. She had heard about Jesus, so she came up behind him through the crowd, touched his robe, for she thought to herself, if I could just touch his robe, I will be healed. Immediately the bleeding stopped, and she could feel in her body that she had been healed of a horrible condition. Then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what had just happened to her, came and fell to her knees in front of him, Jesus, and told him what she had done. And he said to her, daughter, Jesus calls her daughter because of her faith, your faith has made you well. Go in peace, your suffering is over. Powerful, you guys. This woman didn't just show up. And she didn't just call out to Jesus from the other side of the crowd. It says she worked her way through the crowd. A crowd of men, Pharisees, Sadducees, Romans, Greeks. She said, I'm going to get close enough just to touch him. If I touch his robe, I might be healed. That faith was enough to heal her. And again, Jesus was amazed. He says, your suffering is over. Because what? One, she showed up. She would have kept on suffering as she never showed up. Two, she put in the work. I got to get to him. I can see him, but I got to touch him. She fought her way through the crowd. She got to him. Showing up, putting in the work, got her blessed. She's healed. Let's talk about one more. The Gentile woman in Matthew chapter 15. It's going to be Matthew chapter 15. We're going to go verse 21 through 28. Again, I'll give all these to you at the end if you want. It says, then Jesus went north to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Gentile woman who lived there came to him, pleading, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David, for my daughter is possessed by a demon that torments her severely." But Jesus gave her no reply, not even a word. What? This is Jesus not replying? As you'll see, she's got to put in some work. Then Jesus said to the woman, "I was sent only to help God's lost sheep, the people of Israel." But she came and worshipped him, pleading again, "Lord, help me." Jesus responded, "It isn't right to take the food from children and throw it to the dogs." She replied, "That's true, Lord, but even the dogs are allowed to eat the scraps that fall beneath their master's table." Let's go. "Dear woman," Jesus said to her. Not dear woman as in a letter. He said, "My dear woman." Just like he said, "My daughter," earlier. "Dear woman," Jesus said to her, "your faith is great. Your request is granted," and her daughter was instantly healed. See, people think, why was Jesus being so salty? They go, that's not the normal character of our Lord and Savior in the Bible. He wasn't being salty. He just wanted her to show her work. He knew what she was asking for before she asked. But he's like, you're going to have to show me your work. I need to see your faith. You showed up. That's half of it. The other half is putting in that work, and she did. When he tried to push her away, she said, "No, this means too much to me. My daughter means too much to me. I can't." And when she came back and put it again, and she even came back at him and said, "Hey, even the dog get the scraps. I'll take whatever." That bareness, you guys, that vulnerability is saying, this means more to me than you saying no. Yeah. I'm showing up and I'll do whatever I got to do. Same thing my friend JJ did. He goes, "I'm going to keep coming even though I'm not getting paid. I'm going to show up and do whatever I got to do to get what I want. My blessing, my destiny." She got it. 3 characters in the Bible that got what they wanted because they showed up and they put in some work. Back in 2014, this church, and this is why I'll take off this because I don't really need them all. This church, y'all can see at Nourishing Vine, was not Nourishing Vine. It was just us doing this in a park. Mulaski Park. Some of y'all might know it. We're out there. Frog remembers. A lot of people, Lee remembers. Gary might have been out there at that time. And we're just feeding people in the park and having church. And it's getting cold. And I've got people from this other church called Grace City that are coming in and they're saying, "We're praying for you guys to have a building. We're going to pray every day." And they see you in the park and they're like, "Oh, look at them in the park having church. It's so cute. They're having church in the park." Grace City was a park church. They knew about the church, but they had moved inside. And they were like, "You know what? We need to keep these people out of the cold. We're going to pray that you guys have a spot." Now, they were having church every Sunday at this little space right down the road, right around the corner from here, 1555, East Flamingo. And we're having Wednesday nights outside, and we go, let's just move inside that spot. Why not? It's a Sunday spot, but Wednesday nights we can move them in. So we move in, and we plan this big grand opening. Wednesday night, 6 o'clock to 8:30, Grace City, Flamingo. It's going to be live. There's going to be food and everything. And we set up this big feast, and I say feast because we went all out. It was like ribs, T-bone, like you name it. We had people grilling stuff off the grill. Find all the finest dishes. There was enough to feed 150 people. And the room only sat about 75. And we invited everybody who prayed for us, all the churches, church members, Grace City, everybody. We said, "Come on, Wednesday night, we'll feed you guys from 6 to 7. And from 7 o'clock on, we'll go out and let people know about Wednesday nights." Because this wasn't the night we're going to actually open. This was just a thank you because we're inside now. You can stop praying. Your prayers work. We're not outside. We're inside. It's cold. We get in there, man, and it's 6 o'clock, and I'm there with my team. I got Jeff and all my crew with me, all my Spartans. And 6:15 shows up. I'm like, okay, it's been 15 minutes. Nobody's here. Food, we're trying to keep it warm and hot and delicious. Everybody's ready to serve. 6:30 comes around. I'm like, I don't understand. Did we not send out all the messages? I got like 50 requests on Facebook saying that they were going to be there. There's all these confirmed people that said they were coming. 6:45 comes around. I'm like, you know what? This is ridiculous. We played the music on rotation over and over again. We ran out of songs. Thank God for SOS because we had nothing else to play. And I'm like, you know what, you guys? I just don't understand. Now, this whole time, there was these 2 guys right outside. One of them was named PJ. Gary might remember PJ. The other one was named David. PJ and David have been watching outside our little building the whole time. And they kept looking, and I'm like, what do they want? I go ahead and bring them in. They come in, and PJ's like, hey, so I guess nobody came, huh? I go, no, sir, nobody came. Can we eat? I'm like, sure, you guys, come on. I go, this food's going to go to waste. You got to come eat with us. So we sit down and we start eating with PJ. Now, David's not very talkative. David's not saying anything. He's super quiet. He's wearing a postal outfit at that time. He had some postal worker pants and like a T-shirt with a big, thick jacket. And he wouldn't talk. Older man with a beard. David leaves. I'm like, okay, maybe we offended David by feeding him. I have no idea why he would leave. He's eating like a king right now. PJ's just talking, and I could smell it from outside, and we were outside looking, and everybody kept asking him. We figured it was something exclusive, so we stayed outside, but I'm glad. And we're like, well, at least somebody got to eat. It was way too much food here. David comes back, and he's got all these people that were right outside that we didn't even notice were out there. David had went all the way to the library, this library right here, and said, hey, man, 2 blocks over by Olive Garden, they got a whole feast. Who's trying to eat? And he came back with all these people, and I was like, oh my God. We got up from the table, we put our gloves back on, let's serve, come on. We fed everybody, and they just kept on coming. There had to be maybe 200 people. We did 3 rounds until the food was done. We were serving chips at the very end. We had nothing else to drink. All the soda and water was gone. There was no fountains. So we were serving potato chips by the handful. And I'm looking, and I'm just like, we didn't get done till 8:30. Till 8:30. And we were supposed to go out and tell people. Remember, the whole point was to have them come in. We feed these people of God. And they were supposed to come out with us and let the people at the park know we're moving in. We didn't need to. PJ and David. David went out there and got everybody. He found people from the woodwork. I'm like, where are these people coming from? We were sweating. We were working hard. And I was like, this is crazy. But it's exactly what God wanted. It ain't what we wanted. It's what God wanted. That feast wasn't for the ones that were praying for us to get out of the park. They had food at home. Feast was for our community. It's for our neighborhood. For the ones that we enjoy feeding because they feed us. No, we didn't give a message because we were too busy serving. But I let them know next Wednesday we're going to give a message. And they said, PJ goes, do we have to hear the message before we eat? Because some of us have things to do. That's his exact words. I said, you know what? You don't. I go, you don't. I go, at our church, we'll eat first and then we'll feed you. The ones that need to be fed physically will get fed. The ones that need to be fed spiritually, they're spiritually hungry, will get fed. And we'll do it in 1 hour. And that literally, from 2014, became this church. We've been running that same model ever since. We eat first, and then we eat again spiritually. Amen. If it wasn't for that day, I promise you guys, we probably wouldn't be here. And that's why we laugh all the time when people are like, well, we're praying for you guys to get a church building. We know you're going to get one. I'm like, where's one that's going to fit all the people in our community that come out and fellowship with us? Good luck trying to find a building that big. And if you do, you can have it, because we don't want all those bills. I want to be able to spend my money on food and fellowship and reading His Word. Amen? Yeah. That's what Nourishing Vine is, and that's what a true Spartan is. Welcome. God bless you, sweetheart. So we're going to get back to this Word, because you know what? It wasn't just me, but Jesus said some things about that too. Jesus had some things to say about that. In fact, He talked about it twice. He talked about it in Matthew and Luke, if I'm not mistaken. But we will start in Luke. We're going to go to Luke chapter 14. We'll go 15 through 24 with Jesus giving parables about something similar to what I just talked about. Jesus, it says, when one of those who were at the table heard this, they said to Jesus, blessed is the one who will eat the feast of the kingdom. Now, Jesus is having a meal. He's talking to Pharisees, Sadducees. He's got the 12 with him. There at the table, he's talking about the kingdom of God. Jesus replies, he says, a certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. Sound familiar? At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, come, for everything is now ready. But they all alike began to make excuses. The first one said, I have just bought a field. I must go and see it. Please excuse me. Another one said, I have just bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I'm on my way to them. Please excuse me. Still another one said, I just got married, so I can't come because I'm newly married. The servant came back and reported this to his master. Then the owner of the house became angry and ordered his servant, go out quickly to the streets and the alleys, the highways and the byways of town, and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Sir, the servant said, what you have ordered has been done, but there is still room. Then the master told his servant, go out to the roads and country lanes, the highways and byways, and compel them to come in, so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet. This is a parable of Jesus. I'm talking so loud I don't even need to use it, do I? There we go. That might be a little better. I don't have to yell at you. This is a parable of Jesus. He's telling a story of a great banquet where the ones who were invited initially couldn't come. They had every excuse in the world. They would not show up. Would not show up. So the ones who did, he filled his house, and he says, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet. Meaning now it's too late. You had a chance. I invited you. You didn't take it. Now it's too late. There's no more room for you. It filled up. This is a parable, meaning it's comparable to something. He's saying in the kingdom of God, In your whole life, you had all these opportunities, all these invitations to come and be a part of his kingdom through his son, Jesus Christ. And you had every excuse in the book for why you wouldn't do it. I can't be a Christian yet. I got too much stuff going on in my life right now. Or I've just got too much sin right now. I can't. Bring that Jesus Christ stuff to me later on when I'm not so sinful. Right now I'm enjoying my sin too much. Or maybe I don't like my sin, but I'm too sinful for Jesus to want me. All these lies and excuses, that's not going to work for God. God says, no, Jesus paid for all your sin. So you're complaining about something that's already been paid for. Jesus came and died already. He did his part. He put in the work. He showed up and put in the work for you. Now it's your turn to show up and put in the work for him. Because now you're the ones who he comes to look for in the highways and byways. You think you're lost, but you're not. God will find you. And as long as you show up, he will use you. So this parable is saying, just accept the invitation and show up. Just show up, ready to work. And you have a kingdom in God waiting in heaven, waiting for you through Jesus Christ. But he says it again in a different way. If we go to, let's see, that was in Luke. Let's go to Matthew. Matthew chapter 22, verse 1 through 10. He says it a different way. Similar parable. It says, Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son being Jesus. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, but they refused to come. Then he sent some more servants to them. Tell those who've been invited that I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet, but they paid no attention and went off. One to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants, they mistreated them, and even killed his servants, just for being messengers. The king was enraged. He sent his army and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, the wedding banquet is ready, but those I've invited did not deserve to come. So go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find. So the servants went out onto the streets and gathered all the people they could find, the bad as well as the good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. The bad as well as the good. No one is exempt from coming. As long as they accept the invitation, as long as they show up ready to work, no one is exempt. The ones who are, he talks about them, they're paying for what they did. And this is a parable, meaning that God sends out people all the time as messengers of the gospel. They tell you the good news. You're tripping for no reason. Jesus paid for all this. We're good. Why are you feeling guilty or ashamed about something you did when it's already taken care of and paid for? Those are messengers. And what do we usually do to the messenger? We shoot them and we kill the messenger. God doesn't like it when you kill his messenger. You're going to pay for that. I tell people all the time, you will pay for your sins in life as a believer. You won't pay in death because you're up there in heaven. They don't see any sin. But in life, you're going to pay for everything you did before you die. If you don't die fast enough and pay for it, in the afterlife because you just didn't make it. You didn't accept the invitation. He's saying, I've given you the message. Now your job is to accept it and receive it. Start showing up, ready to work for God. That's it. It moves on a little bit. That the next verse 11, says, but when the king came to see the guests, he noticed that there was a man there who was not wearing wedding clothes. He asked, how did you get in here without wedding clothes, friend? The man was speechless. Then the king told the attendants, tie him hand and foot, throw him outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are invited, but few are chosen. What he's making reference to is not how the man was dressed. He's saying this man tried to get into the banquet another way than the only way. This is making reference. This is when the mic gets dropped there. See how the devil do? I must have been getting in my groove. This is when religion comes in. People who are religious who say, I have to get in this way. I got to do this to get to heaven. I have to do something religiously over and over to get to heaven. I have to be a good person. He's saying that you're wearing the wrong outfit. You should be wearing my son's blood. If you're covered in my son's blood, it's not what you do, it's what he did. Therefore, you don't belong here. You belong where everybody else who tries to get to heaven another way are going. Gnashing of teeth, darkness. It says, be tossed into the darkness where you can do nothing. Weeping and gnashing of teeth. That is a depiction of hell that it's way worse than what we imagine hell to be. You understand? Because we went out of our way to find another way to get there, and he says, you don't belong here. When all he did was say, follow my son. The only way to heaven is Jesus Christ. Just follow my son. Just believe in him, and you're coming. You're wearing the right clothing because you're wearing my son's blood. That's it. That's all you need. That's us. That's us. right? I told you I'm going to get to you guys in a second. I will. And it's just not you guys, it's me too. That's us. Sometimes we do way too much. Sometimes we think that by doing a whole lot of stuff and posting it on social media or let people know about it that we've done something. We haven't done anything. I promise you, Jesus did it all. Yeah. Until you can go out there and represent him, until you can show up as a representative of Christ, which is why he left. He says, I did my part, now do yours. You ain't doing nothing. God has all these blessings for you, stored in heaven. And he says, some of them I have for you right now, but you can't have them because you won't show up. You don't have the courage to just show up. It ain't always about being ready. It ain't always about it. Sometimes it's just showing up. There are things in your life that you're not going to be ready for. But that doesn't mean you can just skip them. Sometimes when you show up, it all falls into place. You just have to be there. And this is, I say this because I love you because you're here. We left that park last week. And I know it's a different audience in the park. We have different people that come. Some of the same faces. God bless every one of y'all. But I love it because the ones who do show up are going to get the blessing today. My blessing for you is this. God is with you. You're going to heaven. If there is anyone in this room that doesn't understand that Jesus Christ paid the way for you, don't leave without coming to see me or one of my leaders. You're going to heaven. You are blessed, not just in heaven, but on earth. Meaning when you leave this place, maybe something you prayed to God about. Just for showing up, he's going to be like, okay, I got you. Maybe it's like I already took care of you. You have no idea. When you check your phone, you'll see it's taken care of. Maybe it's 7 days out, but because you showed up and prepared to work, he's like, now you're worthy of that blessing. I'm asking you right now, keep coming. Keep coming. Even if it's just to eat and go. God bless you. You came. You obviously put in work because we didn't feed you. Right? We put the food out. You grabbed it yourself. You showed up. If you can't stay, that's fine. If you can stay, you will be blessed. You already know that. But show up. Start doing that in life. People that you care about that need to see you. Start showing up when it matters and see what happens. They will forget all the horrible stuff. Maybe not all of it. Maybe not all of it. But they will remember that time you came that really meant something. That will stick with them for the rest of their life. Start showing up. Show up, prepare to work for God, and you will have success in life. Amen?
Amen.
Let's pray.